Hi, Rose. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I was telling everybody you're kind of a Londoner too, because you lived here for quite a while, didn't you?
I live there. Hi, Brian. Thank you for
Hi.
having me on. Hello, everybody out there in virtual and our now real world, which is virtual. Yeah, I have such a huge flame for London. It really was instrumental in me kind of regaining some sanity after some really insane years and having distance from the US and seeing. It's fascinating to watch the power structures both be completely similar and quite different, and the various elites at work, the suppressors, the ones that smear you, and it's been, from a distance watching it happen to you. Isn't it fun?
Yeah, right. Maybe you can give me a little advice when it comes to that, Rose. It's a strange thing, and until you feel it, you don't know what it's like. And so, for maybe one of the first time ever, I now know what it feels like to have that happen to them. And yeah, I heard your story when you were at London Real, but it's a completely unfathomable thing. So, yeah, I mean, you wrote a
Until the
book about that.
machine, until you challenge, I wrote a book about it, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
And you're going to write a book about it, I'm sure of it. Until you really challenge the power structure and make them nervous, they usually leave you somewhat alone. They kind of keep an eye on you from the sidelines. But once you really start going for them, then the smears, the attacks, the character assassination. I mean, with you, I read it was about anti-Semitism, and you had Eva Schloss on your channel, and then
Yeah,
with me, I was a TERF. I was anti-trans, which is hilarious since my
right.
best
I
trans
remember.
girlfriend spent the night with me last night, and friends. We had a slumber party. It's just like this is not reality, but they don't
Yeah.
care, and they will use every hot button, disgusting thing to take someone down when all you really want to do is make the world better, and you kind of want to say like, what's so bad about that?
I know. The worst thing is, Rose, is it discourages you from wanting to make the world better. And you're like, well, I'm out here. I really want to do this great thing for this great city. And yet you get chopped away by these kind of smears that then get repeated. And then I guess, Rose, so many people like us, they just throw the towel in, right? They're like, oh, well, this is going to be the way it's going to be. I'm not going to bother. And we probably crush so many people that could change the world because that happens, right?
You have to have an inordinate amount of strength to put yourself
Yeah,
to be hated essentially, and to be lied about. And I've been, for me, I had a, as I detailed in my book Brave, I was lied about. Harvey Weinstein paid off the media for years, and that was proven, to slander me, to crazy drug addict whore, the whole playbook, right? That's the woman's playbook. For you, they have to it's a little different, but they do the wacky guy from America. I'm pretty sure that's
right.
their jam,
Yeah.
And it's just like at some points you're like, God, your playbook is so boring. Can't you just like do better? Like if you're fine, if you're going to hog all the power, then be better, or fuck off.
It's well said, Rose. And I'm
Thank
finally
you.
getting to see that, because, before that I had a show and I had incredible people like you on the show, and I had controversial guests, and I kind of rode through that. I fought against censorship last year. We can talk about that because I know you have too. But until I put myself out for this political campaign, nobody really came after my character. And even now, I think my policies are 10 times better than the other candidates, but they don't really come after the policies. Again, they come after me. And it's the American, it's in the suit, and then they try to go find some guest I spoke to out of 1,000 guests that said one thing, and then it gets repeated. I just have to stay focused and always remind myself, why am I doing this? And if it challenges you, really, it challenges you. Are you really doing this for the truth, for the betterment of everyone, for the long term? And you must have had to ask yourself those hard questions when that was happening to you. I mean, like, you gotta be like, wow, I gotta keep fighting, right?
Well, it kind of is funny when the very people that repeat the lies that are so clearly coming from a specific place that is being threatened, a place of power, they just repeat the untruths verbatim without doing any deeper research. That hurts me, especially because those are the people I'm trying to help, And for me, I'm not going to run for a political office. I think that personally I can affect. Can I curse? Yeah, fuck it. I can kick the shit out of people from the above position, like kind of the macro above, and just kind of see the system and be like, this actually needs to work better. Let's do that. But
Right.
getting into it requires a renegade spirit, and it requires, I'll tell you something. It was really weird. I was in Parliament a couple years ago, and I went into this room. I was being just taken around in Parliament, where there were all these parliamentarians, and they didn't know I was in there because they were taller than me. And I wish to God I'd had my camera, because one of them was literally talking about how dumb his voters were and how easily fooled they were. And I was like, oh. And I'd been in the halls of power in D.C. I was a volunteer with a ridiculous group called No Labels, Republicans and Democrats working across the aisle. And which is behind the scenes not untrue in terms of them being friends and all basically being kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It is a wild perspective from the inside out, and it's hard when you can't tell the public, when you kind of just know more about a certain thing, and it's so hard for people to believe. And I think that's why like good cops get ferreted out, probably good politicians. They're like, God, like life quality versus wanting to help. Just because some people are born with these very strange compulsions to help. I'm one of those people. I ask myself, I'm not doing it for profit. They can't figure out what my motivations are because I don't want anything from them. I just
Yeah.
want it to be better. And I know you can do this with London. I know you can do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Well, you've been supportive for months and months for us, Rose. I mean, what do you see in our campaign? What do you see in me that makes you want to rally behind us?
I like people that are different, obviously. I like, I really love kind of when you're an outsider and you can see the system in a different way when you're not born into it. It's easier to hotwire, to like steal an old car. You have to take the wires, right? Crisscross them. It's kind of easier to do that when you're not from that system. And then when you also, like you, coupled with, that's my dog Pearl, coupled with the fact that you have all this like business knowledge, all this like working with, like doing deals. I was reading something about, I mean, that's true. Politicians, they have a very specific language and it doesn't translate to business language.
No, it doesn't.
Whereas you can understand the political language and take your business knowledge and translate it to that. But also, like, why not be better? That's what I essentially see, like, why not? Like, why not be
Yeah.
better than we have, than what's expected of us? And I think I see that I know I see that in you. And I see like, just honest intent. I want to do this because I can help. It's not
Yeah.
like I
And
want
that,
to be the mayor of London, but it's like this city needs help. I have certain skills in my arrow holder, and I'm gonna shoot these arrows.
And that's why I was like last year, we were in the middle of our fight against censorship and digital censorship. And again, I want to get your thoughts on that. But I was sitting there, Rose, and I was making more videos and I was looking at our choices for mayor. Again, it's this two-party system. They give you an illusion of choice every 4 or 5 years here. They sign off on each other's failures. The taxpayer pays their salaries the whole time, and they never innovate because they don't have to. It's just they can make it a little better, and it's good enough for the citizens. And yet this could be the greatest city in the world, I believe. It's got potential. It's got so much greatness going for it. You feel it when it's here. It's got that energy. And yet these politicians weren't doing anything. So I thought, Rose, I got two young boys now. They're 3 and 4 years old. And I figured they're going to ask me in 2041, Papa, what did you do back in the big crisis of 2021? Did you make some more videos on YouTube, or did you actually do something about it? And so I thought, you know what? We're just going to go for it. My naivete maybe is going to help me in this race because I'm not jaded about politics. I don't have any preconceived ideas. I'm just going to go in there and look at it through a business lens and say, how come we haven't done this? And how come we haven't done this? And why are we doing this? And how come you haven't done this? And again, I got no donors. I pay for this myself. I got no party to worry about. I don't have to check with anybody. So I live stream and I take people's really hard questions. I go out in the public, I shake hands, I talk to people. And none of the other candidates ever do that because it's all about this press release and they got their handlers around them. So to say the least, Rose, London is a bit surprised by what we're doing. But also from the beginning, the bookmakers, and again, I don't encourage gambling, but they put odds on people. They had us in second place from the beginning ahead of the
Wow.
conservative candidate. So they saw something. And then, of course, I had London Real. So I think it was 1.7 million Londoners already knew who I was out of
Right.
9.5 million. So, we went for it and we just started listening. I think my job was to go out and listen to people. What is your challenge? What is your struggle? and then I would look at what the politicians have done or not done, and then we just came up with our best ideas, like I would for a business or anything else. And it's been an incredible process, but also challenging. I won't lie to you.
And
It
exhausting.
may
It's a marathon.
exhausting. Yeah, it is a marathon, but I also get amazing support from people behind the scenes, and also people that also high level people in the police that want to do better, in the transport structure that want to do better, people in the House of Lords that are like, you know what, Brian, we actually want the best for London, and we're tired of the politicking as well. Maybe we can help you, and maybe you can do something they can't do. So I've been amazed at how many Londoners kind of see this and they're like, you know what, we need someone to change it up a little bit. So that's been good, and we got 8 days left. So we're down to the
Wow.
wire now. I
It's,
know.
I'm really impressed.
I know.
You must have a great and exhausted team, and right now the energy keeps you going. You'll hit a week of sleep after, hopefully. It is really, I just always feel if people have certain abilities and certain strengths that they can help the world with, or a city, then I think it's incumbent upon us to do it. Because
Yeah.
why the fuck not? What else are we
Yeah.
doing? Yeah, I mean, you might
Yeah.
as well. Like for me, when I lived in London, and it is one of the greatest cities on earth. It is a brilliant city. It is. You can sit at any cafe and have a conversation with almost anybody about any book or any. It's so cultured. It is the crossroads of the world. What I love, it literally is. I mean, they say, U.S. is a melting pot, but the crossroads, like everybody from everywhere. I made so many friends from all over different parts of Africa, so many friends from different, like just regions, obviously India, like so many, and they also want a say in what's going on in their government. And it's great that you're going out and actually listening to the people because you have to educate yourself. Whereas the current politicians, maybe not all of them, but from obviously the results we're seeing, they just they're like, thanks for that information. I've been hearing it like comes to a hum. It'd be like me saying, hey, and I don't identify as this, but like if I said, hey, Brian, you want to come have a half an hour conversation with a feminist? You're like, no. Like, it's like it doesn't, you have to use different words. You have to use different, like that people, have been requesting the same thing. So it becomes very, like if I come at something with a feminist lens, and use that as an identifier, people shut off. That's what
Mm.
the example is giving. Whereas, like when the current crop of politicians and maybe the forever ones, when they hear the people's complaints and desires, they've heard them so many times, they just can tune it out. And so we have to no, these are your people. You must
Yeah.
stand for them. That is your job. And if you can't do it, don't run again just because this is my career. Be
Yeah.
better and get the hell out and let someone like you take over. Why not?
Yeah. I'm going to take your line. Be better, Rose. It's a great line.
Be better.
And
It's really not
like you said,
complicated.
we all have superpowers, and if you're not using them to the utmost of your abilities to do something better for your people, your community, your country, whatever, every day, and getting a little scary and maybe getting a little hate from it, you're kind of dishonoring this beautiful gift of life somehow. And I think when, your book Brave, and when people saw what you did, I think a lot of people were like, wow,
It's
man.
confusing.
Yeah.
What?
It's hard too. It's funny. The word brave, like I have two boys, they're 3 and 4 years old. And so I tell them a story every night, and I usually have a stuffed animal there, and the stuffed animal gets scared during the story. And I say, what do we do when we're scared? And they say brave. And I was like, what does it mean to be brave? And so they know the concept, but whenever they're scared, they don't want to be brave. And so it's a weird thing with humans that it's hard to go into the fear, but you can learn that or be
I
inspired by
think one
people
of the
like you, I
things
think.
you can say to your children or to anybody about being brave, because that's a question I get asked a lot. How do I become
Yeah.
brave? And the thing
Yeah.
is, you will be scared. Bravery is not the absence of fear. It is leaning into it and doing it anyway and persevering, and it will not blow you. That fear is not going to disintegrate you. And
Right.
usually we've all gone through so much stuff in our lives. Like, what are they going to do that they haven't already done to you?
Yeah.
So be
Yeah.
brave. And my platform, a course outline I'm actually building for my book, my platform is 10% better. That's what it is. I just want people every day, including myself, 10%, a 10% goal. What can I do better today, or inherently just in myself be better by 10%? And that 10% can grow and grow and grow. And so, yeah, be better, be brave. Why
Yeah.
not? And so I think, for you, I think it's punk. I like that you're a disruptor. I respect that you're an outsider that also kind of, because the finance world, and it's just looking at it differently. It's really looking at the system differently and seeing how we can just make it work better, more streamlined, so we can all get to our destination faster. It's like improving traffic on the freeway. It's really not
Yeah.
that complicated, but it is complicated when you're dealing with power mongers that won't move.
Yeah, and these gatekeepers, whether it's a political party or a mainstream media outlet or something, they're not used to change. They just resist it. It's not necessarily they're complicit. They just resist it because business as usual is good for everyone. And so I felt that resistance. They don't want me in on the debates and stuff. At the same time, though, I think we're doing things that now will raise the bar on all future people running for mayor. So we're like super digitally transparent. I got a digital battle bus. I'm driving through every borough of London. We're doing digital outdoor ads and YouTube ads that they've
And
never
they're
seen
like,
before.
what?
Yeah, they're like, what? And
What?
so, yeah, it's been crazy. Rose, I've been watching you the last year or two, and like you've changed into this kind of this, like you said, you influence like from the top now, and you're like this. I mean, I hate that term, thought leader, but you're like someone people look to as to guide them through a lot of the madness that's going on. And I know you've been someone that's fought back against digital censorship as well, and I wanted to ask you about that. I know you were on Fox recently, and you were like, "Wow, I never thought I would be here," but you're still speaking your truth on these platforms. And I was wondering if you could tell me, like, can you summarize that, and then also tell me what it's like to be censored digitally? Because I know you went head to head with Jack Dorsey. I went head to head with YouTube last year. I almost lost my whole channel. 10 years, 10,000 videos, 250 million views. I almost lost it for fighting for the right for free speech. It was crazy. So what's
It's
that been like for
insane.
you? Yeah.
For me, it's every platform. It's not just Twitter. YouTube and Google very much in on my censorship. If you Google me, like it takes you to page 3 before you find out anything good about me. And they have pinned videos that I know were paid by Weinstein and his whole campaign of terror that are still pinned there. They're like, and they
Right.
have like 19,000 views, but they're there and they won't move, right?
Right.
And they're like just paid off like hack, smear machines. And it's frustrating. If anybody puts anything on YouTube with my name and a hashtag, it'll come out of the gate really strong and then just go poof. And I know, so the Twitter part of it is, so they deactivated my account completely 4 days after after Weinstein was outed in the New York Times. And there became a
Wow.
24-hour women boycott Twitter worldwide until Rose McGowan's reinstated. So they did, but it's like I've seen with the amount of media in the last like 6-7 years that I've been fighting against the machine, just to get my message out there. My message is simply that you are being controlled in ways you're not aware of. I have different information. I come from a different background. And it's very clear, and there's ways out of this. There are ways to be free and find our way, and it's simply to make people better, and that's all. And so I go up against Jack Dorsey. I'm like, why do you endorse evil? So like when I was doing a sorry, my sound won't stop.
I was hearing you. Good. Oh, there you go.
A Facebook Live. I was doing a Facebook Live. Why won't they? I'm so sorry. I can't make the notification stop. So I was doing a Facebook Live where I announced that I was going to do a response to the last Trump-Biden debate. They deactivated my account half an hour later. Like stuff like that. It's just like, do you people assign just what is going on? And so my numbers have increased like in those past years of all that media, like 4,000. Like it's so, and out of like 1 million followers or whatever on Twitter, it's like 123 views on a tweet. That's statistically impossible. It's just so boring. So I just asked them,
Yeah.
why do you ally with evil? It's not just status quo pays off. But yes, it does, but it could pay so much better if you do it better. And why do they protect evil? I fundamentally don't understand. And that's okay. I know they don't understand me either. So we're at an impasse.
Yeah, and I came head to head with this last year. Rose, we did the second largest YouTube live stream in the world on April 6th last year. It was second only to Trump's coronavirus briefing that day. That was the first. And 30 minutes after that live stream, which was clearly popular, they deleted the video and banned the video. And it was a conversation I had for 2.5 hours where we didn't encourage or incite hatred, violence, overthrow governments. It was just some new ideas. And I went head into this massive observation that censorship was real. I thought it happened to the weirdos and the crazy people, Rose, until it happens to you. And then you got stories like you said. I was later deplatformed from Dropbox, PayPal, Facebook, LinkedIn, and it became this whole crazy fight.
It's so exhausting, and you're
Yeah.
caught. And some
Yeah.
days it really does cause some despair. It does discourage you from speaking. It did.
Yeah.
Some days I'm like, well, what's the point of even saying anything if it's so, but I will keep pushing, and I will go on goddamn Fox News and not give a shit because it's my
Yeah.
message and I don't care. Like CNN to me is like the Democratic equivalent, MSNBC of Fox News. And if I get to go on Fox News and give a message of maybe hopefully some insight and positivity and basically, I mean, that I'm on Fox News saying both Republicans and Democrats are in a cult is nothing short of mind-boggling, to
I
tell you the
know.
truth.
I
The fact that
watched
they
it.
let someone like me on air is hilarious.
I thought it was amazing. And again, Rose is being Rose, and that's what everyone loves and appreciates about you. And you keep it real and true. And I watched that. And again, people forget. And again, with your interview at London Real, we went into, you actually know what a cult is like. And it might sound strange to look at it through that lens, but you know all the triggers and all the things they do. And I think your short clip of you in my chair saying Hollywood is a cult is one of the most watched things that we've ever made out. Like millions of people watch that because your perspective was interesting to people. And I think you said, well, look at what these people are doing. And you said something, you had some things that made the test, right? It was like your master isn't serving you, or you had something that kind of qualifies.
Yeah, if you
And
are
if
serving
so,
a master, yeah, exactly. There are many, and you can just look up online, like what are the markers in a cult, and then you can be in a cult in a relationship of two. Okay, you can be in a cult in a family anytime, and then there's the master cults, right? The elite cult, and that's what they're protecting at all costs. And the thing is, it's not just them brainwashing people, but it's the people, and nobody wants to believe they're brainwashed. Nobody wants to feel like they're not free. Everybody wants to feel like they have, but when you're born into a system such as America's system, it unless unless you were raised in a cabin in the woods with no TV, that is your indoctrination. This year you get to read this, and next year you get to read this level. My homework, I was always a nightmare for pretty much every teacher when I landed in the States after we escaped the cult that I grew up in. I would just write on my homework, no thanks, I don't want your indoctrination today. Or I'd raise my hand and say, this is propaganda. This is not history. I've read other books. You're lying to your people. I'm 11. So there are markers. Just look for them and see, and it's not 100%, but it is enough. I can tell when people say something that comes out quickly that is implanted in them by the system. And I can tell when something is organic to them. And that's what we really need to parse apart about ourselves and our society to be better. So, Brian, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been really cool to chat and hang out. And I wish you the best. Fight on. And I'm sure I'll get shit for being on here with you. Obviously, I do not care. Bring it.
Thank you, Rose. I really appreciate you.
I respect anybody that fights and anybody that tries to make the world a better place. Why? Why not?
Well, that's what we're trying to do. And I want to make London a great city. So when you come back here, you'll be like, yeah, Brian, we did it. And that's the plan. So thanks, Rose. I appreciate you. I appreciate your bravery. Let's keep fighting. And thanks so much. All right. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, love. Take care.